Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the update Red Skies Dev Server, and it's time to have a look at the Sea Vixen F.A.W. Mk.2. This is a new premium vehicle that is coming to the British tech tree in Update Red Skies, and it's, at least on the Dev Server, cost 8,560 GE. Pretty expensive, but then you got to remember, it is a rank 5, and will be useful for researching the vast majority of the British tech tree. The only thing it won't be good at researching is the two Phantoms that now sit themselves at rank 7 instead of at rank 6. So this, with its crazy bonuses of 795% on the SL and 624% on the RP, will be great for researching everything else. And at 8.3, I actually think it has a decent chance in the game compared to some of its older brothers, such as the Venom FB4 and also the Sea Venom, which sits at 8.7 and 7.7 respectively. So what's special about the Sea Vixen? Well, it doesn't have any guns. There's no actual guns on this thing, no 20s, no 30s, no nothing. Instead, you are completely limited to your suspended armament when it comes to what you can actually use. Now, luckily, for 8.3, it actually gets some pretty cool secondary armament. It gets access to bullpups, which are really nice, access to red tops, which are the missiles used on the lightning in-game right now. It gets access to fire streaks as well, which are the ones you find on the Javelin, which I've actually really enjoyed. I believe, at least in my experience, they're much better than AIM-9Bs because of their overload that they have access to. You also get access to rockets in the form of RP3s and even some bombs if you want to use them. So, in my opinion, the secondary armaments are pretty good, but they are, of course, limited by the fact that you have no gun. So, it's going to be a very quick bang, 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 and then you're out of the battle, back to base, and then resetting and starting again, which sometimes works and other times doesn't because your whole team's dead. So that's a bit of a problem. Also, if people realize you're using missiles and know how to actually survive against them, then generally you're going to have a bit of an iffy time. But I think overall, I'm glad to see this thing. It also has a really interesting twin tail on it, and the engines it has are quite powerful. The Rolls-Royce Avon Mark 208s with 5,030 kgf on the takeoff thrust is really cool. Also has access to fuel tanks all over the place, and it doesn't have two pilots. It has a pilot, and this guy is labeled as a gunner. Technically he's a radar navigator guy, so even if, I'm pretty sure if you knock out this guy, it will just knock out the plane. It has a pretty sophisticated radar on it as well, because of what it was designed for, and also look at these fuel tanks, which is sat in the area right here. I think that's a really interesting part of engineering. No armor protection on the vehicle, not a surprise for it, but in general, it should be survivable, basically because you're not going to be dogfighting people with these missiles. You're going to be slightly away from the battle, firing missiles in, hoping for the best when it comes to the red tops and also the fire streaks. 991 kilometers an hour on the vehicle as well, means it's not the fastest about, but should be pretty maneuverable, just like its Venom and Sea Venom friend, and hopefully it doesn't get outmaneuvered too badly by the high energy states of stuff like the Mk.2 bis, which is an incredibly dominant vehicle at 8.3. The other thing about the Sea Vixen is that it doesn't... Oh no, sorry, never mind. It does have access to a camo. Oh my lord. What? Wait. What is this? This might be the derpiest shark I think I've ever seen in War Thunder when it comes to camouflage. Like, obviously T-Gore from the G91R4 is a bit rough, but what is that? Oh, it also has a fist with wings on the back. This is quite a nice camo, actually. For some reason, this one didn't load for me before, but looks like it does this time. Lovely stuff. So it does have access to a camo. It's called Shark, so if you want a derpy shark along with your derpy plane, you can get access to it. So the big thing about vehicles like this, I will actually quickly just see if it has like CCIP or anything like that for the rockets, because obviously that would make it a little bit more useful in ground realistic. Unfortunately it doesn't. That's very much a shame, but it does get access to bullpups, so you can guide them in to targets. Access to 2 of them plus air-to-airs is quite nice, but generally the issues when it comes to machines which have no armaments, they normally have issues with defending themselves. You know, the Buccaneer is one of these vehicles. The Sea Vixen is slightly different in that regard, because of the fact that it gets access to the missiles, so it can defend itself, even though it's going to have a very unique playstyle thanks to those missiles. You're not really going to be able to engage people head on. You're not going to be able to engage them in long, prolonged dogfights because of the fact that, well, you can't gun them down, or you can't perpendicular shot them or anything like that. Instead, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to play pretty patiently and wait for the enemies to engage at a low energy state, pop the good old missile seeker and smash them. And generally a lot of fights at this BR, you know, between sabers, between MiGs, between stuff like G91s, they do often end in a furball, and I feel like this could easily be taken advantage of in something like a Sea Vixen. What I do in the Javelin, which is a similar BR, at 8.7, is I wait for the initial hit to happen between my team and the enemy team. Normally it's everybody versus the USA, or it's USA versus USSR with everybody mixed in. I wait for the initial hit, and then once they are dogfighting, then I pick my targets with the Javelin, turn on the missile indicator like this, loop down to see the enemies, and then all I do is just fire a missile, turn away, set up once again, and just keep doing that over and over and over again, and until you basically run out of missiles. Now luckily, when it comes to the Javelin, it has access to 30s, which are very nice, but also in the turn and moving around, it runs out of energy very quickly, where the Sea Vixen should be a little bit better at that, and also a little bit more maneuverable. So even though it doesn't really have too much in the speed department, if you can get into those positions where you set up above an enemy, use that position to missile an enemy, pull out and do it again, you should actually have a really, really good time in this machine. I don't like the cockpit in this at all. The fact that you can't see anything even below the horizontal means that in stuff such as the simulator battles, it's going to be a little bit rough to use, just because it doesn't have a ton of clearance when it comes to pretty much anything, so that's a bit of a problem. Doesn't seem to have access to a radar or anything yet. It's pretty much only the missiles themselves are IR guided, but I'm sure it will in the future get access to that, and hopefully it doesn't rip too easily, because that is an issue that stuff like the Venom and also the Sea Venom have. So if we're going at this speed right here, which is very much near its limit, it still can just about turn, so your limit's going to really be around 1,000 kilometers an hour. So there's still going to be a lot of machines that can go faster than you, but you're going to have to defensively fly, wait for them to push past, have your seeker ready, and just smash them in the face. And one thing I like about War Thunder is you do have a lot of vehicles that I wouldn't class as meta. Like, I don't think this thing is going to be meta. You know, it's not going to take over the game, but it's going to have a really unique playstyle that you only find on a few of the vehicles, like the Javelin. And this obviously is very different to the Javelin because of its maneuverability and not a lack of energy in a turn. But it just means that it's going to be quite fun to play and quite challenging for people to learn, you know, new ways of playing and winning the game. Because you will be able to carry games in this thing even though you only have 4 missiles. Generally, game carries in War Thunder, especially jets, if you get 3 kills, that's a pretty good carry. If you get any more than that, you're doing amazing. And because of these facts, the 4 missiles, if you know how to properly use them and you set them up properly, which, you know, is not too hard to do, especially with red tops at 8.3, you will just do wonderful things. You know, you will just be able to take over games in a very big way. And that's pretty awesome. You know, it's definitely one of those things that I'm very happy to see. You're going to have to be very patient with the vehicle though, and I'm sure a lot of people won't be patient with the vehicle, and they'll end up losing countless missiles to misfires, or not tracking properly, and they'll blame the vehicle for not being very good, and I think that's fair. At the end of the day, since it is just a very light missile platform, but it is at least something to change the playstyle at and have a bit of a go at. The other thing as well is in ground, with access to bullpups, at 8.3 you haven't got a terrible lineup for ground. You've got the Roycat, you've got the Chieftain Mark III, which is there, the Chieftain Marksman as well. It's not too bad 3-smash combo, and with the Vixen with access to bullpups, Britain doesn't really have anything else at 8.3 which can carry stuff like that. You have the Scimitar at 8.7, but that little A3 lineup could use with a little bit of help. And guess what? The Sea Vixen is here to try and give that a go. It's quite pricey for what you get out of it. I can't wait to see people carrying this thing. I think it's going to be really fun. And the fact that you have a ton of rank 5 and 6 vehicles for Britain, this may be one of the vehicles to use to actually get through them if you don't want to spade them. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank BRFC, Swollen Ostrich, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Conte Baraka, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Lafouche, Barine, and Samuel Schlick for supporting the channel.